Good evening and welcome to our latest in conversation. This evening we're delighted to be talking to best-selling and local author Sam Carrington about her latest book, The Couple on Maple Drive. I don't know if you've got a copy of it, Sam, because I've only got it on Kindle. So yeah, it's got a great cover. We are also streaming to over 30 libraries this evening across stormy Devon. So hello to everybody watching. And if you'd like to ask Sam a question, please pop in the chat. So Sam also lives in Devon with her husband and her 3 children, and she worked for the NHS for 15 years, during which time she qualified as a nurse. Following the completion of a psychology degree, she went to work for the prison service as an offending behaviour facilitator. Her experiences within this field inspired her writing. She left the service to spend time with her family and follow her dream of becoming a novelist. And The Couple on Maple Drive is out on Thursday in paperback with Avon Books, who kindly helped organise this event this evening. Hi Sam, it's lovely to see you again. It was earlier this year that we spoke, and we spoke about the open house then. And your new book is out this week. Would you like to tell us a bit about The Couple on Maple Drive?
Yeah, hi Karen and everyone watching, thank you. Yeah, The Couple on Maple Drive, as you've just seen. So this is my, I want to say 7th now, because I'm beginning to lose count. 7th psychological thriller, and it follows the story of Isla, who has been or is at home at the moment recovering from a really bad attack where she was mugged on walking home from a party that her friends and colleagues had set for her because she had just been promoted in her job. So it's just really thinking she's stuck at home, she's recovering physically but also emotionally and psychologically, and is getting a bit bored, so she's been watching lots of true crime podcasts and Netflix and all the things you do when you're at home and you've got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And so she becomes a little bit obsessed with it all and thinking about her own attack and whether it might happen again and why her, and obviously who had done it, because the person who had mugged her has not been found. So the story follows her progression in trying to figure out who it was, and she ropes in the help of a true crime podcast called Chrissy's Crime Addicts, and she's keeping this all from her partner. Her boyfriend moved in to her place with her after the attack to help her, and she's keeping all this kind of secret from him. And so it's like all the things that come out really from it, and she begins bit by bit to recall the lead up to the attack and all the people that were there. So everyone's a bit of a suspect, if you like, from the party as well.
Definitely, it's a real page turner. I sort of galloped through it in about a day and a half, and I really liked the sort of the 2 strands, which we'll talk about a bit more later on. But what sort of gave you the idea to write the Couple Maple Drive?
You know, sometimes when it's just a little spark of an idea comes, and somehow the rest snowballs, and I can't actually remember specifically where it came from now. I'd kind of wanted to do a true crime podcast element, so that was always in my mind, that whatever I was going to write, it had to have some kind of element of that. And I suppose Isla was the character that came to me first, and that whole thing of being at home, maybe it was something to do with lockdown and all the kind of amount of time we spent at home and the amount of TV I watched and back-to-back stuff on Netflix and all the true crime things, which I always quite like anyway. So I just thought, well, if you are stuck at home but it's not lockdown and nobody else is with you, you know, that can kind of get a little bit obsessive, and it's turning that obsession into something that we could all perhaps relate to, even if we've not all been attacked. So
no.
But the fact that her memory wasn't coming back as quickly as she hoped, I wanted to be able to feed in like almost like a paranoia kind of thing about the people we know. And, you know, we all obviously have friends and family and we know them well, and, you know, you hope that nobody's going to do anything bad ever, do you? But you never know. And I just wanted to explore that a little bit.
Because she is quite badly attacked, isn't she? And like, as you said, when I started reading it, I sort of thought I knew where it was going. I thought, oh, I know what's going to happen here. I'm not going to give any spoilers away because you have to read it yourself. But I thought I knew. I was thinking, well, is this paranoia? You know, is it paranoia or is it genuine? Has she genuinely forgotten what happened? And But as you say, we have to find out. But she sort of is made to feel, isn't she? So she's walking home from her party, she gets attacked, and it's quite, like I said, quite a brutal attack, but she's sort of made to feel, like a lot of women, that it was her own fault for walking home at night on her own. You know, there was sort of that really sort of struck a chord with me, particularly with everything that's happening in the news at the moment, tragically, with women who've, you know, been innocently walking home on their own. Was that something that you sort of wanted to get across in the book?
Yeah, I think in that actually there's something about living in a village as well. You get quite a lot of people saying, you either get one hand people saying, well, it's only a village, nothing's going to happen here, carry on a walk, you know, just do what you like. And
yeah,
I have done that in the past. And then you've obviously got the flip side where you are afraid sometimes to walk home. And I've been walking early with dogs even, and had somebody following behind, a male following behind. And you kind of think, well, I know they're not going to do anything. And then, I don't know, there's just something in you that thinks, well, what if they do? And you suddenly realise that you're actually out in the sticks a bit, and your mobile phone signal doesn't work, which actually does happen, by the way. Phone signals aren't very good, are they, in this kind of...
They are definitely not, no.
So there is that kind of thing of, I think we'll all possibly have that in mind when we're walking.
I think so. I think it is almost like, and I think, you know, we sort of, it's almost ingrained in us from like early childhood, isn't it? You know, the whole stranger danger thing, and that's obviously much, you know, I think as a female, you definitely have it in your mind all the time. So I think when someone does walk up behind you, even if it is innocently,
oh God, makes your heart go, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. You immediately think the worst, and luckily, you know, most of the time it is innocent, but unfortunately it's not. So I think it's not always that way, but I think definitely it's that gut feeling that you get when someone is behind you, that the fear it takes over. I guess it's the flight or fight, isn't it? It's your
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I must admit, I did, when I think I was probably about 19, and I did walk home in, like, this was back in the day, you know, when, you know, I didn't have a mobile phone. Walked in the back lanes coming home as well, and I literally couldn't see anything. There's no light. There's
no light, is there?
I was feeling my way around, and oh God, this is going to sound awful. I actually accepted a lift from somebody, and now I look back and think, oh, that was really, you know, that was really stupid of me, and I did put myself at risk there. But there is that element, as you say, like just ordinarily when we're walking home, we shouldn't feel like you're putting yourself at risk. It is not really, that is kind of victim blaming, isn't it? And that's another thing, you don't want to be in that whole thing of victim blaming. And unfortunately women do, like you say, quite often get, well, you shouldn't have been doing it, what did you put yourself at risk for? You know.
It's and almost like that sort of like, oh, you walk home the safe, you know, the further way, or because it's light. But I mean, we don't have that luxury in villages of street lights. Normally you get about 4 and that's it.
Well, yeah, or they go out at 1 o'clock in the morning as well. So if you're walking home after 1, you're in pitch black.
I really enjoyed the 2 strands of the story. So we've got the story of Isla and Zach, and then we've got the story of the Christie's crime addicts. That's it, yeah, the podcast. So true crime podcasts are really popular, aren't they, the moment? You said about like sort of Netflix and on there, and we've been watching Only Murders in the Building on Disney. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that.
That's just so good.
On Disney?
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like it should be on Disney, does it?
No, it's got Steve Martin and I can't remember who the other 2 people are. My husband will be downstairs. But yeah, it's really good. So basically it's set around a big building in America, and these 3 people who are trying to solve a murder, and they start a podcast, a true crime podcast, because they're all addicted to another true crime podcast. But it's very good. But they are very, really, because I mean, some of them are quite gory, aren't they? Some of them are quite, you know, because obviously the things that happen are real, so they're quite gruesome, but people seem to really enjoy that side of it. Is that what do you get from listening to the true podcast? Because I don't listen to them. So
well, I think it's just adds another level, I think, you know, because like you said, we watch so much.
Yeah,
so you could be listening whilst doing other things, you know, when you are out walking, not on your own.
No.
You know, when you've got something else to listen to as well, rather than just listening to an audiobook, for example. I mean, I do love listening to audiobooks, but it is quite nice to just listen to the podcasts. And for research as well, I listened to quite a few, so it was, so I knew a bit about them. But there's just so many. I mean, well, you go on to like Facebook and people are recommending this one, that one. There's just absolutely so many. And I just think, but they're all quite often doing different crimes, they're covering different ones as well. So, I wanted to think about something that was more Devon set. So like having like the Christie crime addicts, obviously.
Yeah, I like that.
So just to give a local kind of armchair detective feel about it.
Because the book is set in Devon. Does living in Devon inspire your writing at all? And
all of my books are set in Devon. I think I've always lived here, so I don't know anywhere else. But Dartmoor, and you've got. I live right between Dartmoor and the sea, so I'm very well placed for both things.
Yeah.
So for a couple of Maple Drive, there's some like references to Ilsham Marine Drive. Now that's the really posh area, not where I come from. So Ilsham Marine Drive is like got all those lovely houses that you just would love to live in, and overlooking the bay and Thatcher's Rock, and it's just all the little places that I've grown up knowing. And I just think, like you said, they're inspirational anyway. I think just going for walks there, I mean, it's just beautiful, and we are lucky to live in such a beautiful area. So you've got to make the most of it, haven't you? And I just think, I would just like to have Devon in every book.
No, and I really like it because there's lots of books that are set in Devon, and quite a lot of sort of romance and books, but it's quite, I don't know, I haven't read any other books, sort of psychological thrillers set in like Devon. They quite often are in cities or towns, so it's quite nice to feel like that sort of. Obviously Dame Agatha wrote all her, she was all Devon, and there's a lot of her books set in Devon, so I do like that sort of sort of link. And we've got lots to be inspired by, haven't we, here? So like you said, the moors and
oh, definitely. And the moors, I think, because they're just so vast and dark, anything could happen there. And I just think that's ideal, isn't it, for
definitely
thrillers and crimes. I just think, all sorts could be going on up there. Every time I walk there, I just think, oh, you could hide a body there, you could hide a body there.
You would probably find, I mean, like you say, Dartmoor's vast, and some of it's so like remote that you can only get to it by sort of walking, or if you've got a 4-wheel drive, or you could definitely get lost up there.
And there's places there that I've just never visited. You just don't get everywhere, do you? Even though my whole life has been here, but there's still so many areas I've not visited.
Definitely. With the two sort of strands of the story, with the podcast and Isla, was it difficult to keep a track of the story when you were writing, or did you write them separately?
No, I didn't write them separately, actually. I quite often do it in order, and I had to go back and tweak things. That's mostly the thing. In terms of making sure I've got everything just about right, because there are a few different levels that I needed to make sure interacted at the right time. But I didn't find it too difficult, and I quite enjoyed doing separating the chapters sometimes with a little bit of something different does help with the writing as well. I think for a reader it's quite nice to have a little bit of a break between characters, so I felt that just added a nice little bit to it and gave you a break from Isla's like musings and going on in her head.
Well, obviously as well, because it's, I mean, their sort of story, her story, and what happens to her is quite dark, isn't it? And the true crime podcast, that it's sort of it doesn't lighten it, but it does a bit. There is that sort of lighter mood of it. And I was quite looking forward to reading the next bit of when I got onto that. So I've had, like you said, I'd not had enough of Isla, but I was like, okay, right, where's the next bit?
No, I think, and that lighter tone you kind of need a little bit, don't you? And even though the podcast is still about bad things, it felt like the way it was told was slightly more jovial and a bit tongue-in-cheek sometimes as well, just to give that kind of thing, because not to make it too serious and dark. So you know.
Yeah, I mean, because some psychological thrillers are very, very dark, and sometimes I finish them and I think, oh, I think I need to lie down after that one. But I didn't feel like that with this one. I felt like it sort of kept me interested, and I wanted to keep on reading it. And I think that definitely helped with having the sort of the lighter bit as well, because Isla's, that's her side of the story is dark, isn't it? There's a lot of stuff goes on as you go through.
Yeah, she's going on a bit of a journey, isn't she, really? And I think I wanted to start it like from where she was at that moment, so the whole recovery stage, but also I wanted the readers to know how she'd got there. So there was that, also bringing in the night of the attack, so that we could learn what had happened. So it's just trying to get all of the right elements in to keep the reader hooked, so that it's not just staying on the here and now. She's going back a bit, so that you can learn what had happened, and basically who had been at the party and what their little, how they linked to the story in general. So and obviously with Zach, we wanted to learn about him as well, because he's an integral part of the book. So I needed him. We needed to find out what his parents and how he'd been brought up and his work.
He's an interesting
his relationship with his father, which was quite problematic, I think is the right word.
Yeah. Did you, when you sort of started with the book, do you know the ending when you start? Do you start with the characters? Do you start with the story? Do you start with the ending and then sort of work backwards, or is it a bit of all?
A bit of all, really. I tried to have at least the bare bones of the story in my mind. So yeah, characters were kind of first. I knew, like I said, that I wanted to have a podcast in.
Yeah.
I don't know now if I knew. I don't think I knew the ending completely. I knew roughly what I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
But it did alter a little bit as I wrote. So things did change a little bit with a couple of little twists, and just so that it hopefully wasn't like as obvious, because I know it's really hard now with psychological thrillers, with people reading so many of them. It is hard to surprise people now. You just think, so it's trying to do it. So it's almost like, if whatever the first thing I think is the ending, I'll change it, because I think, well, if I think that first, other people might think that's what it is. So I just try.
Yeah. Well, this one surprised me. I thought it had lots of twists and turns, and I didn't see it going the way I thought. I knew which way it was going, and
really sorry.
That's okay, don't worry. I didn't guess, and I like that in a book if I don't guess, because I do read quite a lot of crime and thrillers, so I do guess a lot of the time, or I guess some of it, but not all of it.
I think that's like normal. I think we all guess like bits, or
bits,
like it's going to be, but hopefully there's enough that will still raise a bit of a gasp here and there. So
did you because it's sort of twisted, do they come quite naturally when you're writing the twists and turns, or is that sort of more of the editing process? Do you sort of are you a write right through the first draft and then tweak afterwards, or are you a tweaker as you go?
I'm a tweaker as I go. I really like that. I'm a tweaker as I go. I can't help myself. It's just one of those things. So I might do a couple of chapters and then think, oh no, I'll go back and just rewrite that bit.
Yeah.
Or I'll do a couple of hours work, and then the next day I'll go back over that before I start writing again. So it ends up having quite a few little changes as it goes. But I don't know, I find it quite hard to do big things in edits. So I quite like to just tweak as I go, because if I have to do something massive at the end of it and like add in loads or completely change something, I'll freak out. So I just think I'd rather take longer to get it right the first time, and then not have so much editing to do. Not a big fan of editing, I'm afraid.
No, it's interesting.
Everyone loves it. Most writers go, oh, editing's the best bit, but I'm not that person.
No, I don't. I mean, I think it's interesting. I think some people like to do a whole draft and not stop, and then go back and do lots of editing. But other people are like you. They prefer to sort of correct as they go and tweak as they go, because then it's not a massive, because I think I don't it's the thought of doing, like when I did essays and things, the thought of doing it all and then not checking it on the way through would terrify me. I think I'd have to do it as I go. I can't remember who it was said to me the other day, I was talking to the other day, said that they always leave their book on a cliffhanger, so that when they go back the next day they know where they can, so they can carry on rather than it being finished. I can't remember who said that, but I thought that was quite a good tip.
The other thing at the moment is my memory is not very good lately. Sorry, I don't know if it's menopause or something, but I've got such a poor memory. I need to keep rereading the bits I've done because I've forgotten it already. So I need to keep going back and doing it.
But
so,
you write a lot, don't you? You write, is it 2 books a year?
Well, I did do 2 once, but mostly it is 1 a year.
Yeah.
But they are quite quick to write. I mean, sort of 4 or 5 months probably to write before, then you send it to the editor and get all of their structural edits and things. So, I think it's quite quick, but I know that people write far quicker than me. But,
I mean, it seems, I mean, there's a lot. It's not like just a case of like writing it and then you have to do your edits and your structural edits and all those sorts of things. How do you, because your books, they're really, they really grab you in, quickly, and then you want to keep reading quickly. How do you sort of achieve that in your writing? Is that just how your sort of mind works? Does it sort of like just all go out on the page?
I think I like short chapters. And that seems to be just how I write. I don't set out to think, okay, I'm just going to have short, snappy chapters. They just are.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that is it's just a style, I guess, that I've got. But I do try and make the end of the chapters, I do try and think, like you said, about leaving a bit of a cliffhanger. So well, not necessarily a massive cliffhanger, but just something to entice the reader to the next chapter. I think that's quite important to do. So I will have that in mind when I'm writing, that, make sure I leave it on some kind of question, or, something you want to find out what happens next, rather than a massive. I don't know how people write long chapters.
I like short chapters.
There's one book, I'm sure it's just one entire chapter. I can't remember which book it was, but there's a book and I'm like, how? There's no break. I don't know how I'd read it properly, because like you, I quite often read at night as well. So then I start to get a bit tired. I think if it's a chapter of just 4 or 5 pages, I think, I can do that. If it's a chapter of 20 odd pages, I'd just probably end up not bothering.
I'd be on about page 3 before I fell asleep.
Well, yeah.
That's my age as well. I just literally
I do feel like at the moment things are altering quite a bit with my reading and with my writing.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I think that's quite common. We spoke earlier about the open house, which was sort of another great read. Your background is in nursing and the probation service. Have you always been interested in people's behavior? Because that's, you write about sort of psychological and sort of things that have happened to people and people's relationships. And do you think that comes from your background, or is that something
No, I think so. I mean, like early in like comprehensive school, I remember I was kind of veering towards nursing and like that, wanting to look after people. And there's a lot of psychological stuff with caring for people, isn't there? It's not just the physical side of nursing. You're emotionally attached to these to patients and their stories, so you learn quite a lot about people as you go. And like you said, I worked for 15 years in the same hospital, so I got to know a lot of different people. And I suppose psychology was always something that I was interested in, from that and criminology, so I kind of liked both. But I studied psychology at college. And it wasn't until, crikey, I can't remember what age I was, but it's a long time later, that I did my psychology degree. So just that whole kind of thing. But then I ended up going into the prison service from nursing, and that's where it kind of all came together, really. And I think that really intensified my passion for finding out about all the grim, dark secrets people have. I don't know. You learn so much about people and crimes and all the things that you can then, now I can put to use, if you see what I mean. I don't think that's awful, but experience wise, it's I've learned such a lot about the criminal mind, and just in general how we react to certain things, and how one person reacts so differently to another, and it's all to do with all the different things. Your life and my life are all very different, and factors that come together might make you do something very different to how I would do something. And it is fascinating, isn't it? Like putting your character into a situation and just like throwing them in and thinking, okay, how are they going to react to this? and then it's just bringing in all, I do think about what I would do as well in those situations, but then I'm drawing on all the things that I've come across during my time in the prison, working in the prison, and in the hospital as well. It's just everybody's experiences. There's just so many, isn't there?
Definitely. And do you find, do your characters surprise you? Do you sort of sometimes think they're going to go? Was there anybody in this book that particularly surprised you without giving anything, massively?
It's hard to say that without giving anything away.
Right. I wondered whether that was the case.
Yeah, but I remember reading like some authors that said, oh, I didn't realise my character just went off on this kind of thing, and I was just thinking, but it does happen. It's really strange. I don't know why. It just does. Just think, oh, they've done that. I didn't think they'd do that. And then that takes you off on a different tangent as a writer. You might think, okay, let's explore that then and see what she would do. So yeah, it is strange how that happens. I don't know what that is that makes, your characters are from your mind.
Exactly.
I don't know how they surprise you. They just do.
I sort of find that, we're talking about psychology. I find that fascinating, but because obviously, like you say, it's your mind that does it. So obviously your mind has a sort of an idea in the first place, and then at some point, I guess, I don't know, your subconscious or something changes it.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we think, well, maybe it's something in my past that I'm drawing on, and that, somehow alters. I don't know. It's a bit worrying sometimes, actually.
It's all those crime podcasts you're listening to.
I feel like sometimes you're just like watching crime, writing crime, or psychological thrillers. You're listening to it. It's kind of all consuming sometimes, isn't it?
Do you
take a day off?
Yeah, I was going to say that one actually leads nicely into the question is what do you like reading, and has anybody, who do you think's influenced your writing over the years?
Early wise, I always think it's like Ruth Rendell and Patricia Cornwall and the people that were early on. It's really difficult now because I read when I say I read widely, I still read quite a lot of psychological thrillers. That is my bulk of reading. Yeah, but it's very it's not quite as like Patricia Cornwall. I have every one of her books, but I don't have quite so much that with newer authors, and I don't know why. I do still buy some on automatic. You just buy the ones that you like. But I think now it's just there's so many that like I'll just read the description and think, okay, yeah, I'll have that. So sometimes I'm not even looking at the author, to be honest. I just think that sounds good. Let's read that. And they do tend to be very much in the crime and psychological genres. I can't think of the last book that I read that wasn't, actually. It's quite hard because you get sent books as well, obviously, to read, and they're generally the ones in your genre because that makes sense. So time-wise, it's really hard to pick up something. Oh, I know. No, I can tell you one. I've started to read The Lifeboat. And do you know what? His name's gone out of my head.
Oh.
5 People We Meet in Heaven. Mitch Albom.
Mitch Albom, yeah.
Yeah. So those are very different, aren't they? To
they are, yeah.
So I've just started that one, and I do like his. So that's a very different kind of genre, but generally speaking, pretty much crime, I think. Can you
listen to crime and read crime when you're writing crime, or do you stay away from it?
Yeah, it's much harder because, like I said, with my memory as well, I don't need to be thinking about other people's characters.
No.
It really will confuse me. And after you've written a book, sometimes by the time it comes out, you've started another book to write. So the characters have already moved on. If I have too many other people's characters, I would just get so confused. So it's quite difficult to read whilst you're writing, but you kind of have to, otherwise you never get around to reading any.
No, how are you writing at the moment?
Yes, I'm in that early stage of like note taking and planning. So I will get my post-it notes, and I've got my whiteboard and all sorts of things that I will start to gather all the information. So I know what I'm writing. I just need to. I've got the little synopsis. And the characters, and that's another one. The character came first, actually. So.
Was it? Yeah. So do you because this is that you said this one was book 7, so
this one's book 7. Yes, definitely.
So is it harder as you get through, because you said about like your memory and sort of, is it harder to not sort of reuse plots that you've used before, or have characters that do they sort of go once you've written them? Are they sort of out of your head, or are they sort of, is it different? Sometimes you think, actually I've sort of done that before, or
I think you get the themes are often quite similar. So
yeah,
you've got your toxic relationships and your
yeah,
grief and all the kind of things that are just generally
the normal
kind of
life
normal
things.
things.
Yeah.
So it's like that they're always reusable. However, the characters can be quite difficult to get like new, like not use similar ones that I've used before. And certainly names. I do keep track of all the names I've used. So I've got like each book, I've got notebooks with all the names in, but I do have to look back sometimes because I've forgotten what I've called people.
Yeah.
Because I think specifically with this one, there's quite a lot of names in it actually.
There is quite a lot of names, isn't there? Yeah.
Because
you've got all the friend group.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went back because when I started reading it, I was like, there's that when you first sort of meet the first sort of couple of chapters, you're starting to meet the whole sort of people. And then you've got the crime one as well, but it does sort of pick it up quite quickly. But like you said in the beginning, there's quite a lot to take in.
So I think that's the hard part. I mean, actual storylines I think are all quite different. I hope they're quite different.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've used like everything again. Sorry.
No, sorry, I'll let you.
No, I was going to say, I think it does become a little bit more difficult, obviously, to keep everything fresh and come up with different things, because I think it's easy to come up with new stories in a like topics rather than but it's then trying to get that story, the plot, without using anything that you've used before. And it is, trying to write it in a different ways also. I quite like this one. Obviously I've got a bit of the podcast, which is different to anything I've done before.
Yeah.
In the book I try and use something slightly different, or use a different character point of view, or writing the first person or the third person, just to try and change it up a little bit each time.
Yeah.
Hope that it doesn't get too staid.
It's quite a challenge though, isn't it, when you're writing one a year, to do that and sort of put it to bed and then think of another idea. And but you said that you've got those sort of people and ideas sort of popping up into your head.
Yeah, I've also got a group of friends that I quite often will take my flipboard over and we'll do a bit of a brainstorming session. And it's quite good to get other people's ideas in terms of subjects. And my son actually came up with Christie's Crime Addicts, the name.
I saw that in the back. Yeah, I saw that.
So that was nice because we have a little bit of a chat about things, and he's quite clever with things like that. So
that was good. I like that.
It's not all in my mind. Some of it has come from listening to other people chat and asking, what would you do with this bit? And, how would we look at that? And what would you do if you were in this situation? So, it's just gaining stuff from elsewhere, because that, little snippet of something from somewhere else, suddenly something small can become the entire novel. You hear something and think, oh, that's a really good. Overheard conversations are fabulous, I think.
Yeah. So, supermarket, hear someone.
See, now that's how I get the next one. See, the next one, there's a supermarket in the next one.
Oh, is there? I think also, like, being an author is quite a solitary occupation, isn't it? You spend a lot of time on your own, so it's good to have that sort of I know a lot of authors sort of spend a lot of time on social media, so they can sort of talk to people via social media, but it's quite nice to have that sort of outlet where you can talk to other people about and have that sort of honesty, I think, as well, isn't it? That that you can sort of, because people will go, oh no, that would never happen.
No, that is a good point. And I think particularly with the lockdown, I mean, everyone's been kind of alone for so long, and we've got the Zoom things, and there's been a lot of online things, but not so much in person. So, we've kind of lacked that, haven't we, over the past 18 months?
Yeah,
I've missed all the writers, going off and going to the festivals and meeting everybody up.
So we just have to hope that it's next year will be. Everybody keeps saying that, don't we? Next year will be better.
Just have to hope I haven't forgotten how to socialise by then.
I know. So have you got anything planned for Thursday for your launch?
Well, I've got in the evening I've got a live Facebook launch with another author called Diane Jeffrey, because we're both got books out on the same day, so that would be another just a chat and between us and a competition and things like that. So I'm not going out, so no out, but just bottle of fizz and a chat, but and hopefully a takeaway if my husband's listening.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then you'll be sort of spotting it in, you'll be able to do the supermarket spot or the bookshop spot.
It's going to be in Asda. Not every Asda, but whatever ones. I'm not sure yet. So
yeah.
I should go into mine and get mad if it's not there. But other than that, usual kind of places online. So I do like it. It is nice to sit on the shelf.
Definitely. And I think lockdown has definitely sort of, it's made launching a book and even harder than there's so many books that are sort of come out every week, and so it's always really exciting, and it's nice to have one out near Christmas as well, because everybody likes
the Christmas stocking.
Exactly, perfect Christmas stocking. I've just seen
the libraries have been a godsend, haven't they, as well? People
absolutely, and we've got we'll have copies coming into the library, so you can order from Devon or Torbay libraries. So and we've got a lot of Sam's books on the shelf, so if you haven't read one of Sam's books before, you can order from Devon or Torbay libraries. So I've got somebody called Quinton has said, "Hi Samantha, live from, I think it's France." It's got a flag, and I can't see it very well, but I think it's a French flag. So if you know a Quinton from France, then
Quinton from France.
It's probably going to go, it's not France. I'm really bad with flags. I'm sorry if it's not France. So I'm just seeing we're coming up to the end now. So thinking about what you've sort of read recently that you've enjoyed, have you got anything that you'd recommend to our viewers this evening? Any sort of books that you've read that you think actually that's a really good one, I'd like to think?
Well, I've read The Silent Friend by Diane Jeffrey, because that's who I'm doing my event with. So that's the last one that I've read, actually, which is another psychological thriller. Or is it? It's a really hard one to put into a genre. It is psychological, really different take on something in particular, and it was really interesting and kind of harrowing but uplifting at the same time. So that's definitely a different read, even though we're classing it as psychological thriller. It's definitely psychological.
Interesting.
Moving, very moving, and I think that's definitely going to be a read that I will remember for a long time. Before that, this is the thing, isn't it? When you have,
I know, I should have warned you before. I normally do try and warn people before.
What have I written? So I've been doing quite a lot of my life with murderers. I've been doing quite a lot of reading of non-fiction. But the other book that I've just recently bought was That Night by Gillian McAllister. But I've not actually started that one yet. So, but I'm always buying books, always buying them, Karen. But they're all on the shelf.
I know. Just look behind me. I've just
I've got all mine under the desk. I've got a nice big pile of.
You've got nice wallpaper. I remember that from last time. The lovely wallpaper. So yours are all neat and pristine, but they're not really.
Quite like a real bookshelf though. That would be nice.
You just have to keep it tidy though. I have to.
It's not a very big room, so I don't think I've got anything in this one. But one day I'm going to have my own library. It's my
your dream.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Sam. It's been great to talk to you again, and I really hope that the launch online goes well on Thursday, and that the book does really well. I'm sure it will, and we look forward to sort of hearing what comes out next in the next 12 months.
That's great, thank you. I was going to say I'll hold it back up again. So
hold it back up. Yeah. So
that's a lovely cover, and I don't know if you can see the blood on the door. It's I quite like this.
Oh yeah, see, I didn't get that because I had it on Kindle, you see, so you get like just the words. But yeah, no, it's been really lovely to speak to you again, and wish you all the best with the book and with the launch on Thursday.
Lovely, thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.